Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the OPWA, I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. Thank you for your interest in today's topic. Today's webinar is entitled Pulse and CityRover, Get Readings on Your Roads with AI Technology. This webinar has been organized by the OPWA Education Committee as part of the webinar series. My name is Bill Brooker, and I'm the Regional Manager for RV Anderson Associates Halton office, where we provide various consulting engineering services to the public and private clients like yourselves throughout Ontario, and I will be your host for today's webinar. First, a little bit about the OPWA. The OPWA is a not-for-profit organization of professional public works practitioners. The Ontario chapter is one of 63 chapters that make up the American Public Works Association. We have about 600 members who are employed by provincial governments, municipalities, consulting engineers, utility companies, contractors, and suppliers. The Ontario chapter is supported by two branches, the West Central branch in the Niagara region and the Ottawa Valley branch in the Ottawa area. OPWA's mission statement reads, Connecting the Public Works Community. OPWA provides its members opportunities to connect through workshops, conferences, and social events. Another great way to connect with those in the public works is to join an OPWA committee. There are 9 committees within the OPWA, including those shown on the screen. So there are many opportunities for you to match your interests. Your creative ideas and volunteer assistance is always welcome. If you're not a member of OPWA, we encourage you to consider becoming a member. More info can be found at the website noted on the screen, and more info is being added to the website all the time. OPW Connects is an opportunity to connect membership with education and technical resources. In webinars like today's, we connect with fellow OPWA members who are experts in their field. Today, typically we plan for one webinar a month. Upcoming webinars include the Highway 535 Water Management Plan by Lee Consulting on June 5th, and the CWF Pollinator Habitat Along Right-of-Ways by the Canadian Wildlife Federation planned for June 26th. The Education Committee is always looking for more topics. Maybe you have a topic that you'd be interested in presenting. Please contact the OPWA to be connected with the Education Committee to express your interest. In addition to the educational webinars like those we have just mentioned, the OPWA has many other events throughout the year. The National Public Works Week from May 19th to 25th this year is a week of recognition for public work professionals across North America. In association with the National Public Works Week, we'll be having our OPWA Awards Lunch on May 29th, celebrating outstanding project achievements. It will be held at the Mississauga Grand Banquet and Event Center, and more information and registration details for the event will be coming soon. This year, our always popular annual OPWA Golf Tournament will be held on June 20th at the Flamborough Hills Golf Course. OPWA also participates in Toronto Pride in June and the OPWA Public Works Expo, which is happening in September in Atlanta, Georgia. We have 2 other conferences in October, the OPWA Right-of-Way Management Conference at Deer Creek and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference at the Mississauga Grand. We also hold the Technology Showcase every year, and it just so happens that our presenters today were the winner of the favorite presentation from last year's showcase. As details are finalized for all of the events, they will be added to the website, so please visit the OPWA website for the most up-to-date information. Speaking of the Technology Showcase, preparations are underway for the 2024 showcase, which is planned for the fall of 2024 at McMaster Innovation Park in Hamilton. The focus of the showcase is on education, knowledge transfer, real-life applications of best practices, and really just the understanding and use of technology in public works. If you'd be interested in making a presentation at the showcase, please reach out to those noted on the screen. Okay, to today's webinar. Just a little bit of housekeeping for everyone to note. Attendees' microphones have been muted and all cameras will remain off. Questions will be addressed at the conclusion of the webinar. Please place your questions in the Q&A box during the webinar and we'll get to them at the end. That Q&A icon is located at the taskbar at the bottom of your screen. Just click and type in your question. And today's webinar Duration is 1 hour. And with that, I'd like to formally introduce our presenters, Alice Lamb and Roy Tao from the City of Markham and Visual Defense. While I do so, I will ask them to get their presentation set up on the screen. So Alice is the Director of Operations at the City of Markham. She's a professional engineer with a diverse and extensive technical and leadership experience. She began her career with private consulting specializing in traffic engineering and planning. Shortly after, Alice joined the Ministry of Transportation and worked in many different transportation disciplines such as structural, traffic, intelligent transportation systems, highway engineering, and urban design. As the Director of Operations with the City of Markham, Alice oversees roads, parks, fleets, and other operations to ensure the city is operating seamlessly. Roy is the Chief Technology Officer at Visual Defense. He's an accomplished senior leader with more than a decade of experience in operations, engineering, technology, and management. Over the course of his career, Roy has spearheaded the implementation of large-scale transportation-focused software and infrastructure projects, both domestically and internationally. As the CTO of Visual Defense, Roy oversees the company's strategic direction, partnership project, and investments in artificial intelligence and the smart city technologies. He's a licensed professional engineer in Ontario and holds certifications in IT, information security, and project management. With that, I'll turn this webinar over to Roy and Alice. Take it away.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone, for attending and tuning in today to listen to our presentation. So again, my name is Alice Lam, and Roy will be helping us to present today. And Roy, do you mind? Next slide. Next. So as Bill introduced that my experience is started off from engineering, and today's presentation will talk about both engineering and operation. So what CityRover is, we started off with this AI technology to detect pothole. And now we are actually entering into another pilot, another phase that today's presentation will go into details in telling and sharing with you what this pilot is all about. The new pilot area will be entering into the pavement engineering area. So we're very excited about that, like bringing in like from theory, application of knowledge and science, applicable science, and into our everyday day-to-day operation. So I started off in the engineering field, and now I'm the Director of Operation for City of Markham, overseeing part of my portfolio is our road rehabilitation program for the city. The city has 2,200 kilometers of roadway. Next slide.
40 hours a week driving and patrolling the streets of Markham. Potholes, they're a nuisance, and they also are a safety issue. They cause a lot of damage to vehicles. They range from anywhere from the size of a golf ball to the size of a beach ball. They could be anywhere from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters deep.
Yes, and we hate them too. And why pothole is bad? Because pothole, when the pavement structure has that hole start forming, the water actually can go in. Then if it is left too long unattended, it can form into sinkhole. Then when vehicle driving on it, it's causing driver discomfort and uncomfortable situation, bumpy road.
Rover is a smartphone. It is mounted on the windshield of a vehicle. We use the device camera to inspect the roads. There is a box that is flashing by every time that it sees a pothole and does it a lot faster and a lot more efficiently than a person does. Rover analyzes about 50,000 pictures per hour.
Yeah, prior to the Rover program, we had to drive around, find the pothole, write it down, get out, measure it. Patrollers patrol by themselves, so there's no one there to kind of watch your back as you're getting out and doing this work, especially on a high volume road. With the Rover, you don't have to get out of the vehicle, and it's all recorded, and you're much safer.
Back here at the office, we see the information that's uploaded to the database. So we see images, pictures of the actual potholes along with the GPS coordinates, so address, location, time of day, and then we would export that data to a spreadsheet and then assign information to a crew to go out and do repairs as soon as possible.
I'm not eliminating a job, but then I am able to allow and relocate this labor to do other work, such as focusing on the other item on the road. And by doing the proactive fixing the pothole right when we first pick up from Rover within a week, then we prevent the water getting in and damaging our infrastructure. The cost saving is humongous.
Working with over 100 cities in North America, we can quantify that the savings are in the millions of dollars to cities ranging in all sizes. Rover is a smartphone technology, and all smartphones are now being phased to use 5G. I do see vehicles using technologies like Rover, like car manufacturers, integrating their cameras and sharing information between vehicles more often. So things like the things that Rover picks up, like, for example, potholes and debris.
Potholes is just the beginning. With the onset of 5G, you're going to see a lot more data being able to be communicated, whether it be the pavement condition, manholes, catch basin signs, curbs, sidewalks.
With 5G coming, it really allow all this technology and all the AI industry to expand to the next level to cover a lot of different tasks in our daily life.
Thank you, Roy. And usually after this presentation, I'll provide a disclaimer. In the City of Markham, we usually do not repair pothole when the road is wet. But because you know that this is actually a short video clip that we film and partner with BBC Earth documentary for the future of 5G. For the filming on that day, so we have some water on the road. So I always like to say that. And so maybe this is the first phase. Today's presentation is going to be in different sections. The first section will talk about this AI CityRover in the pothole detection technology. Then different section will talk about pavement weighting and what we're getting in. So how and why we started with this program. So when we were in the City of Markham, when we were first being approached by Visual Defense with this idea of this AI technology, I met with all my frontline supervisor, and we were saying that, wow, if this technology really coming out and being successful, it will help us in such a great deal. It will help us with our time. It will help us to better manage our roadway asset. So why is that? Because there's an Ontario legislation 23902 named minimum maintenance standard. And this minimum maintenance standard, oftentimes that it outlined in this standard, they outline different requirements for municipality to maintain our roadway. So in here, it talked about the paved surface. What is a pothole? And then it also outlined the patrolling frequency for a municipality to municipal how we patrol our roadway and what type of roadway should have what kind of patrolling frequency. I'm not going to go in depth to talk about the definition today, but why I'm putting this slide on today's presentation is to outline that my truck is out in the road, patrolling the road. When my operator is patrolling the road, they are not just looking at pothole. They're looking at many other deficiencies that may happen, such as traffic signal could be down, a street light could be out, a stop sign could be because strong wind blowing it down. So remember, this patrolling tasks have a lot of different items that need to be recorded, and different class of highway will have a different patrolling frequency that each municipality need to meet per the Ontario regulation. So my truck is already out there. So then when this technology, as you see on the presentation, is on the cell phone. So when I can mount it on this truck, I'm leveraging my existing resource to help us to better inspect. Next. And there's also another Ontario regulation that governing our type of work, which is asset management, Ontario Regulation 5AA/17. Road pavement is a core asset per this legislation. So what it means that each municipality and government need to have an asset management plan set aside for these core assets. And roadway is very important to our daily life. And no municipality want to show up on our CAA worst road of the year list. Markham is no different. And a little bit about Markham. We also one of the municipalities that experience significant growth. And we are currently around over 360,000 population. And as I mentioned earlier, all our pavement structure are paved road over 2,200 lane kilometer. So with such a big network, with such a big population, that our client also have expectation on our roadway, and with the ever-growing need, growing our tax base is not always the only solution. So we trying to find how can we do more with less? How do we do more with our existing resources? So now it's time that we need to leverage and tap onto technology. So in pavement management, oftentimes we need to look into the right technique for the right location and apply it at the right time. So it's not like a one formula fit all pavement. So it really depending on the pavement weighting and the condition of the road. Then we tailor-made and custom-made what are the solutions to address the deficiency. So this is a quick, I will go into further detail later on in another section to talk about pavement. Next. So how does the patrolling, I talk about my vehicle is already out there. Then I talk about pavement asset management. So now this AI CityRover pothole detection actually help municipality with our maintenance. And I use the scenario as our rooftop. If a strong wind blow off the shingles from your roof, most homeowner, the asset owner, will fix it right away because to prevent water from getting in. If you don't fix the shingles, here 1 or 2, water is going to get in. When water getting in into the plywood and then later on into the side of the house and into the foundation, now we could be potentially looking into the entire roof reconstruction or some remediation work for the entire house. Same with our structure. The moment that we are able to address and patch up the pothole, it's actually helping us to manage our assets. It actually prolong our assets. If we leave it too long and unattended, then the water can actually go in over our Canadian winter and summer. The freeze-thaw cycle will actually lead to expansion and then creating more pothole and further deteriorate our pavement structure. So we believe in preventative maintenance. We believe in fixing the small issue and providing the maintenance that can help us to prolong our asset. So our collaboration experience with Visual Defense on CityRover has been a very promising one. We are the first municipality, along with Richmond Hill, to pilot this technology. And this technology opened our eye. At the beginning, AI, I think that was a couple of years ago, around 4 years ago. Many people are very new to the AI industry. But like I said earlier, if this technology really flourishes, then it helps the entire Ontario Public Works. So City of Markham entered into this innovation partnership. And after this partnership, I can share with everyone that it's a win-win scenario. So it actually not just helps City of Markham, it actually helps all the municipal government to help us to better manage our assets. And the other thing about this AI technology, because think about all this private industry, they have a great idea, they have this software, but oftentimes their truck is not out there, but my truck is out there patrolling. So when the two partner together and we are able to leverage and tap onto our resources. So my truck is out there collecting data, and through that process, my team is able to help to develop this software. Over time, at the beginning, when the software first pick up the pothole, sometimes it will pick up a shadow of a tree, a sign, and then may pick it up as, oh, this is a pothole. But through the machine learning and interactive from our staff in the, hey, actually this is a sign, this is a shadow. And now the accuracy of the software actually are over 90%. And Roy will cover that later. And many other municipalities actually adopt this software now to help them to better manage their work. And in the BBC radio, you also see that with the screen, it's actually helping us to capture the image. So in the good old days, we could be using a book to record that, oh, there's a pothole here. So my operator driving need to stop and then record that approximately 100 meters east of this intersection, there's a pothole of this size and that size. They get out of the car and measure it. All these are time and productivity. And then also look out for their safety. And now with these software, they're able to capture the image and they drive by, which kind of helping my operator to have another set of eyes next to them. And now they can focus on other tasks. They can focus on driving safely and operate faster because the software already captured the size and the image of the pothole. Later on, they can go back for the documentation. And so they saving time out in the field that allow them to patrol and cover more roadway in that shift. So that is what my operation team really enjoy about the software. And the earlier we are able to help us to find this deficiency out in the road, then the earlier it allow us to do proactive repair, which proactive repair, like I mentioned about earlier, lead to long-term saving. And then now in front of us, we see the map. When I see that, oh, actually there's 5 potholes in the east area and there's 6 in the west. In the good old day, because of paper, I could be having the hot box out, fixing 2 potholes in the east and then going to the west, and then later on noticing, oh, I actually missed one in the northeast. Then now my crew is going back and forth. Now everything in front of us being organized with a report and in front of the screen, I can better manage my resources. That, okay, this crew on today, I'm going to fix all the potholes in the east. Tomorrow we'll fix the rest. So it allows us to gain productivity and better manage and program our repair work. Next slide. So the CityRover AI pothole detection won a number of awards. It's the Technical Innovation of the Year by OPWA, Engineering Project of the Year under the medium categories with Professional Engineer of Association, the IDC North America Smart City Award, and also the Ontario Good Road Association John Neary Better Practice Award under innovation categories. Next. So ever since CityRover pothole detection, that's the first generation. Oftentimes people ask that, oh, so what are the difference between different phases? So the first phase was detecting pothole. Then we actually expand beyond that because it actually opened our eye and thinking, wow, you know what, technology these days can do pothole detection. It can also detect a lot of different things now. It can help us to detect the manhole, signage, and maybe other type of deficiency out in the road, which better help us to record and then manage our task. For manhole, winter maintenance, I don't know if many of the audience are in the winter maintenance industry. When the manhole sticking out above ground and then a plow truck coming in, that interaction, we know who's going to lose the fight. Our truck is going to lose the fight. The manhole is going to stay put. If the manhole is actually lift, the plow come in, the plow is going to damage the equipment. With the software able to pick up some manhole deficiency, which allow my team to go out to do proactive adjustment. So then when it comes to winter maintenance, when my plow truck come along, then it's going to be able to help us to prevent some of these equipment damages or even infrastructure damages. Next. Now I'm going to pass the time over to Roy Tao to cover the next section from visual defense.
Thank you, Alice, and hello, everybody. So as Alice mentioned, we have a few sections. So the first section kind of covers the first phase of the project, which we covered in the technology showcase. And then after this phase, it will go back to Alice to talk about the Pulse technology. And Alice's portion is usually revolving a little bit more about the specific use cases within the city of Markham. And the CityRover visual defense portion is a little bit more general, just in terms of some trends and ways that we see this technology used across cities in Ontario and even Canada and beyond. So just in a few words, CityRover is an AI camera and a cloud service. So it's basically you put this camera into any vehicle, and essentially it transformed this vehicle into a data collection technology. And just very briefly about myself, before we got into the municipal operations and public works, Visual Defense was actually a security provider. I've been with the company for about 18 years. And I was responsible mostly for implementation of security projects in transportation. So I was responsible for implementation of CCTV systems, camera systems in airports, seaports, as well as other systems that were kind of supporting those security systems in place. And all of the projects that I've done have been essentially in the transportation sector. And we got into artificial intelligence as a company that had software that manages cameras. We got into artificial intelligence with the idea that we can train artificial intelligence to assist us in making sense of what's in the picture so that people don't have to go and sit and stare at monitors for a very long time. We can have artificial intelligence assist us with this. And the first use case that we saw that was outside of security is essentially the pothole detection project. So that's kind of how we got into it. And we've partnered with cities here in Ontario to do this. And I think I can say today that Ontario is becoming quickly a leader in the use of artificial intelligence for maintenance and infrastructure management. And that's thanks to partners like the City of Markham that helped to test this technology, contribute, and share this with others who then follow suit as well. My role with CityRover is mostly partnership based. So what I am responsible for is really learning from our many partners in the public sector about what is it that they're trying to solve, what are some of the challenges that they experience, and giving us ideas and feedback about how we can use technology to help our partners do their work easier. So I really enjoy this work. I get to learn from a lot of different people, and I get to think about some creative things. That we have a really large team here at CityRover. There's about 60 employees, and we work together to continuously improve on this technology. And really what's the technology started with and still is today is about proactive service. It's essentially helping to provide awareness of what it is that we have in terms of where do we have issues, how severe are the issues, and giving us this head start where we can plan our work and get some consistency in the way that we do things, as opposed to be reactive and have to address things really, really fast and without the opportunity to do it on our own terms. And just very briefly, just the general process, we've worked with a lot of different municipalities, and there's usually 3 ways we learn about issues. I always hear these things from everybody. So this is the de facto standards that people use today. There's surveys. So we have either specialized vans or in-house teams or a combination of that go around and assess our infrastructure periodically. That is typical for all sorts of infrastructure, not just roads, but essentially those specialists go out there, collect information, produce reports, but it's very time consuming. There's a lot of infrastructure to assess. It can be weather dependent, it can be time dependent, schedule dependent, and so on. So what we found is that most cities really assess their road infrastructure usually every 2 to 8 years. Typically, you know, the bigger the city and the busier the roads, it will get assessed more frequently, and the less busy the roads are and the smaller the municipality, the less frequent the assessments will take place. And this gives us a snapshot, one snapshot of what our infrastructure is like at a particular time. It's very expensive too to do it because of the level of detail. We also have inspectors. Basically, the term in Ontario is patrollers because of the Ontario minimum maintenance standard, which requires to do patrols in order to comply with the standard. Other terms that are used elsewhere is basically, as I said, inspectors, scouts, and all sorts. There's all sorts of names, but the function is the same. It's a person that goes out there to look for issues proactively. So this is a proactive approach. We have somebody out there. They look for potholes. They also look for other issues, as Ellis has mentioned. Could be guardrails or bridges, or sometimes it could be even that somebody left the road dirty and it's in the city, and they need to clean up after the work that they've done on their property. In general, these inspectors drive around and collect the information and create service requests. But really what we're asking somebody to do is spend a lot of time on the road, in traffic, navigating between people and cars, and still noticing all these issues. These folks are professionals. They do keep track of it, but it can be challenging to do this every day, consistently good all the time. In terms of the patrols, they're usually done, at least in Ontario, based on the road classification, as Ellis mentioned. So it's usually daily, weekly, or monthly. And then outside of Ontario, I've seen it go as high as quarterly, meaning every 3 months as well, with some American cities and cities outside of Ontario. And the majority of the cities, other than those 2 methods, then rely on the last and least expensive in terms of resources, but most expensive in terms of public satisfaction, which is the public, right? So if anything is missed and there's an issue that causes some sort of discomfort or risk or injury, that usually the public becomes vocal and mentions it, and you will get a call if you're in a city or ticket open on the portal, depends on what you have, and somebody will complain. So those are the ways that we learn about issues. Either it is detailed and slow, frequent but challenging, or whatever is missed is reported by the public. And we like to say that the first step to fixing a problem is knowing about it. So once you know about it, there's the rest of the process that takes place. So usually there's a service request that will get open with a particular department. So it could be the roads department, the waste department, the water department, depending on the type of the issue that comes in. That then translates into a work order. So that can include one or multiple service requests within an area. And then the crews are ideally moving in to start taking care of the issue, and then moving on to the next. So this is the process today for most of the cities. It can be paper-based, meaning that everything is logged by paper. It could be that it's logged digitally, but assigned by paper. It could be using tablets and asset management systems and work management systems. So there's a lot of different ways that different cities deal with this thing. But as we mentioned, the first thing is learning about the issue. And this is where the CityRover third generation technology comes in. It's basically our AI platform. So it's a camera that goes in a vehicle, and basically any city can install this themselves. We basically work with cities as far down south in California in the States, as east as Newfoundland and Labrador, and as west as British Columbia. And we just ship them these kits. The city staff install it on the windshield, and when they drive, the CityRover technology starts to assess the infrastructure in near real time. So it means as soon as the technology identifies a pothole, for example, it will snap a picture and upload it onto the cloud. And on the cloud, there's different ways to basically address it. So either it's a hazard-based approach. So each issue, the system will try to catalog it as a high priority or low priority, and then that goes into a person to review. And then that person either agrees that it's a high priority and assigns it to a crew, or disagrees and moves it down to a low priority. And the low priority issues are usually handled more in bulk, like what you're seeing here. So if you have a nice day and you want to send a crew out there, you know which areas to send your crews to do the work. And the idea is that the time that they save is not on where they're going, but where they're not going. So if you're looking on the map, for example, if you've covered all your roads and this is where your issues are, there's really no point to send a crew to circle around on all these roads that were inspected but did not identify any issues. So there's different ways that cities address this. One is priority driven, basically to keep the roads safe and hazard free. And the other is productivity driven, taking the staff that we have and applying them in the best possible way possible so they can fix the most issues per working hour as possible. And we like to say that the CityRover technology doesn't also identify higher quantity of issues, but there's also a higher quality to the data. So now each issue that gets identified is also inclusive of basically pictures with estimates for the size and the depth, with the GPS coordinates of it, the nearest address, the date and time, the side of the road, and so on. So we used to hear a lot about basically, cities getting service requests that somebody says there's a pothole on my street, and then you come in with the truck, and the truck has this hot box or a trolley that they have to pull behind, and they miss the pothole and they have to circle around to go with it. Now you don't need to do it. You have it available right in front of you. So that's one very useful way to apply the technology. And we've worked with the City of Markham since 2020, so it's our 4th year now of partnering with them on advancing this technology. And when we started, we actually used to call this a pothole detection system, but we really quickly realized that cities want to know about issues, but they also want to fix them. So it's not just about the detection, but about how can we take this data and act on it in a better, faster, more efficient way. So this technology has evolved. Our third generation technology is now called a maintenance operations platform, which helps you both with essentially automating the generation of service requests for certain types of issues using artificial intelligence, like the potholes and the manholes and so on, but also helping with the process of automatically cataloging them, making them available for review, and actually taking this information and disseminating it to work crews. So disseminating it to work crews could be opening a work order for this issue with one of our companion applications. It could be printing it out into a paper that the the repair crew can basically take and use it to get to the place and mark it as complete. It can be patch maps that just kind of show which areas in the city have issues that need to get taken care of. And a lot of cities have actually invested also in infrastructure management systems, asset management systems. And what they want to do is they actually want to take this data from the CityRover system and bring it into those systems as well. Because a city can have, for example, parks, facilities, roads are part of it too. So sometimes there's one system that all the repair crews within the city are using the same system. So it just allows to sync this data from one system to another. And we've seen all sorts of exciting things that cities have done with this data in terms of moving it to different systems. So the first phase technology, which is our third generation technology, now we have cities that use street sweepers, they use patrol trucks, they use garbage trucks. Those are now inspecting the roads. We have service requests that are being generated automatically. So now a person doesn't need to punch it in. It just gets essentially automatically opened. And then this information can get attached to a work order, as we talked about, paper-based or electronic. And now when we go and take care of these issues, we have essentially all the information, what we're dealing with, how many we're dealing with, where is it, and we have all the information to support more efficient use of the work. And we start to track also how many potholes did we fix, how much time was used today to close these as well. So you can start tracking all of these things, and based on that, you can start to quantify how you've done this year compared to last year. For example, I know a lot of cities, before they use the CityRover system, actually estimate how many potholes they patch by how much asphalt they bought in the previous year. But sometimes they don't use all the asphalt, they may not use all of it. So it's just very nice to have the way for you to tie the issues that came in, how many you've dealt with, how fast you've dealt with them, and how it was assigned. And with this data, you can then go back and report to council or senior leadership and say, this is what we could accomplish with our current staff. If you want us to accomplish more, we will need this. Otherwise, this is how we've improved compared to last year, and this is what we've done. And we're seeing a lot of that as well. So it's a tool also that's used to show the work that you've done and demonstrate it as well. And just a few quick KPIs that come from some of the cities we've worked with. So we're seeing a trend where, generally speaking, 80% of the problems out there are unknown, sometimes even more, depends on the type of the infrastructure. But if you're relying exclusively on citizen complaint, you can assume that there's 4 times more issues out there you don't know about compared to using this technology. The second thing that we saw that's really, I think this is one of my favorite experiments that one city did. They actually gave access to their service ticket folks to check the system every time they got a service call about a pothole. And they found that 96% of the potholes were captured by the system before people complain about them. So this was by a city with about 100,000 people in Quebec. So that's a great metric that they reported. And in general, by only sending your crews to areas that have issues and not having them circle around, you can get up to 100% productivity boost, meaning that they can fix twice as many issues within the same shift. And in general, we've partnered so far with more than 300 cities in Ontario. It's Ontario-led, so we're an Ontario company, but also in Canada and beyond. And it is emerging. To be proactive and to digitize your infrastructure issues is emerging as a best practice now that we're seeing, not just in Ontario, but in other Canadian provinces as well. So cities that have used the CityRover technology, also in Alberta and British Columbia, have also been recognized with Public Works Project of the Year awards for the proactive service. So we're seeing a trend where more and more cities are starting to tackle this head on, and knowing about the issues is the first step to taking care of them, as we discussed. So just moving on to what's next with CityRover, I'll just very quickly show a video that describes the technology a little bit in more detail. So I'll let this play. So as we're in 2024, this year we've launched our Pulse, and it's actually our 4th generation technology that is being rolled out. So we have CityRover for incidents, which was what we showed in the first part of this presentation. We also have CityRover for transit, which is about transit infrastructure maintenance. And there are buses in Ontario now equipped with CityRover cameras that assess transit infrastructure. And then we have the Pulse for asset management, which we'll jump into quickly, as well as our work management solution. So now the same camera both gives you the way to create the incidents we talked about. The red is the first part of the presentation. The purple is our companion app that lets staff members, like the patrollers, can report things that the AI doesn't cover, and it goes into the same platform, as well as issues here can get assigned to work crews. And the Pulse is actually our data collection and analysis platform. It's using the same camera and the same cloud, but it is a separate service that is being provided, and all this information can get synced to other systems. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Alice to talk about pavement. Alice, your favorite topic is coming up.
Yep. Next slide, please. So are you guys ready for what is the latest and the better? So we drive in the public sector, like most of the time we drive on public road, and oftentimes we can drink our coffee and our drink, and then sometimes depending on the bumpy road, then you can spill your coffee on yourself. So what is pavement weighting? And how do we classify that? Earlier I talked about, we covered the day-to-day. Now we're getting into further, take a step back, looking into the engineering, the civil engineering. Usually we assess a road based on its pavement condition index. It's an engineering equation, start out from 100, and then as each deficiency that we pick up, then we subtract that from it. So next slide, please. So what is pavement weighting? So of course, on the right-hand side, that we can tell there's a lot of deficiency. And then on the left-hand side, just being newly paved road, so it's good. And so when we say that a pavement is not good, there's many different type of deficiency our pavement structure could experience. Some could be a longitudinal crack, some could be an alligator cracking, and some could be significant pothole and sinkhole and depression. So each road, and you see the picture, each type of pavement deficiency will require different type of solution. And then the time to address it is also different. So next slide, please. So in this scenario, let's say looking at the picture of the newly paved road, the PCI pavement condition index would likely be 100 because there's no deficiency, so nothing to subtract. So we classify as a good road. And then on the other side, you see alligator cracking, you see pothole, you see some longitudinal cracking. And the other thing is a road could be very long. Let's say talked about Yonge Street. Yonge Street span from different municipalities. But then it's not the entire Yonge Street will have one PCI. So different section of the roadway will suffer from different type of deficiency. So usually in pavement weighting, we talked about the segment of the road. So, and also in different type of like this bad road, if the pavement condition index is at 35, it will require different type of solution now. So 35 will consider at poor or severe. And in this situation, we may be looking into reconstruction of the roadway. Pave and shape, we usually call the pavement resurfacing, may not be able to help us to solve the problem here. There are many different types of tool in our toolbox to fix our pavement, such as micro surfacing, crack and seal. But this type of roadway, that's why if you use crack and seal on this roadway, it's just throwing money away. It's not going to help. That's why knowing the root cause, knowing the pavement weighting and condition is fundamental for the industry expert to identify what to do. No different from going to a doctor. You need to know what is the issue going on before you can be, the doctor can prescribe a medication. Next slide. So oftentimes how we determine pavement weighting is sampling area, identifying deficiency, severity, and then we punch into the engineering equation like I mentioned earlier. Next. And this is a map showing how our City of Markham from 2019 to 2020 survey result in different color codes showing us that which section of the roadway is doing very good, or which section of the roadway is actually doing not so good. So time to pay attention and then come up with a solution based on our program lead. Next. And this is kind of outlined that, remember earlier I talked about Ontario Regulation 5AA/17. In the asset management plan, each municipality is required to document our core asset in our condition and set money aside to make sure these core assets is being looked at and being rehabilitated and also being replaced. Next. So now I'll talk about before CityRover posts this pilot. We currently we're in a pilot process. So prior to that, what traditionally in City of Markham, how do we do it? Every 2 to 3 years, we will hire a contractor to do a laser condition index, kind of like the picture, mounted with the laser, and then we'll drive through the entire city network, kind of do a scan. With this scan, it will pick up the deficiency, alligator cracking, pothole, minor crack, hairline crack, and that kind of things. Of course, it will have the results oftentimes may show us with error. And then it's time consuming because you have to drive through, and in that one round, if the certain part of the citywide is doing construction or being closed, then the truck will not be able to get the PCI rating for that segment. Next. And after that, we will have our inspector to go out to look at the road to verify if the PCI rating coming back, the data is accurate. Because oftentimes we know that with machine, with human, there's bound to have error that could end up. And city will get our PCI rating every 2 to 3 years using this current method. Next. So what if there's a better way? What if there's a better way that we don't have to wait for 2 to 3 years? If we have, let's say, receive a resident complaint, then we can send a truck out and kind of like able to assess the PCI right away. And then a sim line, because right now the truck collect all this data. I have a huge database. I need to punch it in and the engineering equation and then kind of process all this in order to get the PCI and then map it. What if all this can streamline in a simple software? So this is what we're exploring right now. Next. I'll pass the time back to Roy.
Thank you, Alice. So this is our CityRover Pulse. This is where Pulse is coming in and helping with the asset management process. It's a brand new technology we launched this year. And I just want to explain first the process as we talked about. Markham is, for example, doing all the roads every 3 years, but we found that there's a range of how often these roads are done, 2 to 4, 2 to 4 to 8, and it just gives you a snapshot at a particular time. What we saw is some cities will do it on a cyclical basis, meaning they will sample. One city may do all the roads in 1 year every 2 years. Another city may actually break the roads into chunks of like 20 to 25%. They will not check any roads that were recently paved, and they will start alternating through the remaining roads on a 3 or 4 year cycle. Their in-house staff go in, they assess the stuff, they look where there's alligator cracking or there's some cracking, they note it down, and then they use that basically for their planning and budgeting. So that's another way that we've seen asset management being used, and this is when it's done in-house. And I actually saw some of the larger cities actually will do the assessment and they will integrate it to modeling. So if you have a sophisticated asset management system, there may be some predictions based on the traffic or based on the classification of the road that will tell you where it's going to be in a particular time. And this is being used for modeling as well. But all of these methods are very time consuming and require a lot of work. And this is where the CityRover Pulse comes in. The same cameras we talked about, whether it's a Markham patrol vehicle, as you see here, a garbage truck that is in another city. And there's even there's even a street sweeper that's called C-Sweepio, which is supposed to be Star Wars name, that has a rover that drives around and collects data. And the idea is basically we have different types of roads. And what we can do is we can then use these vehicles to always collect for us data for these roads. So we always know if we want to get a report on any particular road, the data is right on our hand. So for example, we can have a patrol vehicle driving through and doing their MMS patrol. We can have a garbage truck, for example, that's on a garbage route that collects additional data. We could have a street sweeper that goes through. It could also be the same vehicle over multiple trips, but each one of these trips basically collects data. And what the Pulse does is it generates for us what we call a continuous snapshot. So from all these different trips, we assemble one snapshot that has all the most up-to-date data for all the roads. So the most recent data from all the trips is visible for us. And with this data, then we can start to apply pavement ratings. So we take the data. Part of this is collecting the right data at the right time at the right place. And then we process this data to generate the reports using artificial intelligence. So we can use standard like the ASTM standard for this. So I think that one is the 6433, the simplified version. And the artificial intelligence is able to automatically identify the issues that you're seeing here, like pothole, different types of cracking, patching, raveling, sealing, and so on. And then this is actually a neighborhood we scanned with Markham. So essentially we had the patrol vehicle going on patrols here. This is data that gets collected, and you see the data has age. So it's all fresh data, less than 3 months. And every time that the vehicle goes through, if that road is due for recollection, the data will get recollected automatically. We do maintain privacy, so we only capture the road. We can basically blur all the houses and people and cars in there, and this is completely done by artificial intelligence. So the data is nice and clean and safe, and then it then basically gets assessed and the ratings take place. So we have the different types of issues that are identified on the road, which are then applied to the data that which we collected. And this is what this neighborhood looks like after it was processed. So it was collected just on a day-to-day patrol. The data can then get processed, amalgamated to subsegments, and then onto segments, which are the units that are usually used to quantify a section of the road. And then essentially this information can get exported into a file. So it shows you essentially this is the road that we wanted. This is how many samples we collected. This is how much we could have collected. Why would you not be able to collect some samples? Maybe that picture, the pavement was wet. Maybe in that picture, there was a car that was parked and there wasn't enough pavement, so the AI rejected it. But at the end of the day, we see what percentage we have for the sampling. And over time, the sampling gets closer and closer to 100%. The more drives you do on the road, the more full the picture you have of the road. And then essentially this can get into these maps, which is similar to what you've seen on the Markham asset management plan. So you have essentially the roads and their conditions, and you can also convert our rating to whatever system you use in place. And then this information can then be used for reports for budgeting or for showing to council or as part of a project, as well as you can export this information in a more tabular format, like an Excel sheet. It shows you the rating, the segment, the street name, the location, the classification, and then that can get imported into an asset management system that allows you to kind of plan or get the recommended treatments for those roads as well. So that can be used also for budgeting. And with that, we're open to questions. So feel free to ask questions. I did not provide our contact information. I forgot to add it in, so I'll just type it into the chat. And if we don't finish everything and you have additional questions to ask, please feel free to reach out to us.
Great. Thank you so much, Roy and Alice. That was a great presentation. You can really see how this technology has helped Markham, and I can see it being a definite asset to a lot of municipalities out there. We've got a couple minutes left here on our hour, so we do have a few questions in the chat here now, so I'll just read them out, and if you guys can answer them, that'd be great. The first question is, with this type of technology, is data storage a problem requiring considerable investments in servers and that type of thing?
No. So this is a cloud-based technology. So essentially, the cameras themselves know exactly when to collect the data. So they only collect the right data at the right time at the right place, making this highly affordable. And then essentially, this is all stored on CityRover cloud that's hosted for Canadian cities in Canada. So the storage costs and the upload costs are not extremely expensive, and they're covered as part of the service.
Okay, great. Got another question. Is this just using a phone/camera still, or does the Pulse use more additional hardware for the data collection?
Right now, only the camera.
Okay, so it's the same system. Everything is the same stuff. Excellent. And I have another question. Probably this would be more for Alice. Did Markham compare the Pulse pilot data to their PCI data to sort of see how things worked and get that comparison?
Yes, we're doing that right now, and which is why we still in the pilot phase. We're trying to validate to ensure that the AI learning and the technology is accurate and compare. And even with our PCI data, as I mentioned earlier, with the laser condition survey, it's bound to have error as well. So we are closely comparing the two data to try to calibrate the model.
Excellent. All right. Those are the questions in the Q&A right now. Does anyone else have any other questions that they'd like to put in here? Give people a second or two to type in. All right. Well, it doesn't look like anything's coming up right now. So again, on behalf of the OPWA and the Education Committee, thank you for joining us and everybody. And thanks very much to Alice and Roy for their presentation. And I see they've added their contact information to the webinar chat there now. So if you do have any more questions at another time, feel free to reach out to them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks very
Thank
much,
you,
everyone.
everyone.